What makes an employment contract unenforceable? Imagine signing an agreement that later turns out to be invalid. It can cause big problems for both workers and employers. Let's look at what can make an employment contract not hold up in court. First, if any part of the contract involves illegal activities, it is automatically unenforceable. For example, if the contract asks an employee to work for less than the minimum wage or do something unlawful, the whole agreement is invalid. Courts will not support illegal terms. Next, if one party lies or hides important facts when making the contract, it could be considered unenforceable. This is called fraud or misrepresentation. For instance, if an employer says the job has certain benefits that it does not, the employee can challenge the contract. Another reason is coercion or pressure. If someone is forced or threatened into signing the contract, it is not valid. This includes situations where an employee feels they have no choice but to accept unfair terms because of the employer's power. Mistakes can also make a contract unenforceable. If both parties misunderstand a key part of the agreement, like the job duties or pay, the contract might be invalid. Clear understanding is necessary for a valid contract. A person must have the legal ability to sign a contract. If a minor or someone with mental health issues signs an agreement, it may not be enforceable. They lack the legal capacity to make binding decisions. Unconscionability is another factor. If a contract is extremely unfair or one-sided, courts may refuse to enforce it. For example, if an agreement includes a non-compete clause that is too broad or a term that strips away basic rights, it can be challenged. Contracts that go against public policy are also not enforceable. For example, some non-compete agreements are not valid in certain states like California because they limit a person's right to work in their chosen field. Finally, a valid employment contract needs to have an offer, acceptance, and consideration. Consideration means something of value, like payment or benefits. If any of these elements are missing, the contract may not be legally binding. Specific issues in written employment contracts include overly broad non-compete clauses. These restrict where or when an employee can work after leaving. Courts often limit or reject clauses that are too restrictive. Arbitration clauses, which requiring disputes to be settled outside court, can be unenforceable if they are hidden or unfairly presented. Employees should understand what they agree to before signing. Termination provisions that allow unfair dismissal or deny rights like severance can also be challenged. If a contract is too one-sided or violates laws, it may be invalid. Some contracts include a severability clause, which allows courts to remove only the unenforceable parts and keep the rest. Without this, a single unfair term could invalidate the entire agreement. For employers, it is important to draft contracts that follow all laws and avoid unfair terms. Regular legal reviews can help prevent problems later. Employees should carefully read their contracts before signing. If something seems unfair or illegal, consulting a lawyer can help determine if the contract is enforceable. In short, an employment contract becomes unenforceable if it contains illegal terms, is entered into under fraud or pressure, is extremely unfair, or doesn't meet basic legal requirements. Both sides need to be aware of these rules to ensure their agreement is valid and fair.